You have stumbled onto another episode of Get Your Fill, Financial Independence and Long Life, where we strive for ways to achieve those two goals, and we invite our friends on to help us. And this week, as promised, we have the second edition of our contractor series with Shirley Everett of Everett Painting, who has been doing this for 35 years. So you know that all the information you get from her is going to be good stuff, top notch, great advice. Shirley, thanks so much for being here today.
Thanks for having me.
So Shirley, that what I'm hoping is that we can give people, first of all, some like tips. And I guess I could say this is a little selfish of me because I just happen to be coincidentally in the process of painting my own house.
Okay, sounds great.
So do you do primarily interior or exterior or both?
I am, first of all, like you said, I've been in business for 36 years. And so I have a slogan, and it is we are exceptionally the best, and we do it right the first time. I forgot the first part, but anyway, we strive in being as perfect as we can because our reputation is all what we have. So
Yeah.
and what was your question? I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. I was just wondering if you have a specialty, interior or exterior painting or
Oh, okay,
both.
so I am mainly a commercial and industrial painter,
Mhm.
but I do residential. So I do interior and exterior.
Okay. So some of the things, so if you're, first I want to say, like, let's have some, do you have any kind of tips that a person who's doing their own house, who's maybe it's too small of a job for you, or they just, feel like they know what they're doing. Like I could pretend I do.
Well, the first thing is always buy high quality brushes, roller covers, roller poles, and painter's tape. Um, don't look at the price, okay? Because the inexpensive, the brush or the roller, the worse your walls are going to look. They will not be even. They will have roller marks in them. So I always buy not necessarily the most expensive, but close to it because it's usually high quality.
Yeah. And the other thing I
It will
noticed,
make a job a whole lot easier too
yeah, I
because it
noticed
goes
with the
on
roller
smooth.
covers, you get a lot of the fuzz comes off. When you get the cheap ones, you get blobs of the material all over the walls and
Right.
stuff.
And yes, and sometimes the roller cover or the brush can peel. So when you put the paint on the wall, the you have some of the brush stuff on it, and also you have the little strings from the brushes on it. So yes,
Yeah. And
so
then
always look for high quality.
that's good
And then
advice.
ask the when you go to the paint store, ask them what is the best roller cover you have, or um, which one sells the most.
So when you say the paint store, are you saying don't go to Home Depot?
You can go to Home Depot, but at Home Depot, you really don't get good service because usually they do not have time um, to spend with you because they have a line of customers,
Yeah.
and sometimes they really don't know about painting because it could be a person filling in for the day. So so sometimes you don't know who you're getting at Home Depot. I
Yeah.
prefer going to a paint store
Yeah.
like a PPG, a Sharon Williams, a Benjamin Moore.
Yeah, I've noticed that too, because sometimes I don't know, like, the finish, or, I'm doing the bathroom, do I need a special kind of paint? And they'll just be like, you know, anything's fine, and I'm like, well, I don't know if that's really true. I
And
just don't have
I've
that
been
level of confidence.
right. I've been there, and so they'll say, "Oh, you can put a satin in your bathroom," and I would say, no, I prefer doing a semi-gloss because of the dampness of the traffic. So, if I'm there, I tell them, no, the best paint for kitchens and bathrooms is the semi-gloss. That's the best because you can easily wipe it off and the paint will stay.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So I already screwed that one up.
Yes. Gives it a little shine. So when the water hits it, you know, it just reflects off, it doesn't stay.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
Hmm.
so a challenge that I'm having here, Shirley, is that the person who did the sheetrock, and actually it probably, I mean, I guess they just didn't take the time to level. So the seam between the wall and the ceiling is wavy. And so when you
Oh,
put the
wow.
paint on, you really can see the difference. Is there anything you can do
Yes.
like in those kind of situations?
There's nothing you can do unless you repatch, try to smooth it out, because otherwise it's going to continue to look that way. Yes, it's going to continue to look that way. And if you can call the person back, to say, the drywall is not smooth, it has imperfections. Um, every time I try to paint, it just looks at me like, this job is not done right. So ask them to come back,
Yeah.
and if they're a reputable uh, um, painting contractor, they'll come back. Oh no, this is the drywall
Drywall.
people.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes we do drywall too, but if they really care about the job that they do, they'll come back,
Yeah.
especially if they want more work and if they want references. Because right now, you would not refer them, would you?
No way. No way. No way.
Yes, yes. So ask them to come back and even it out
Yeah.
and see
Yeah.
what happens.
I'll let you know how I make out with that.
Okay.
So now, one thing that I've seen done with trim when
Mm-hmm.
where I used to work, when they painted the trim,
Mm-hmm.
they did the side of the trim. So this was like around the doorway, right?
Mm-hmm.
They did the front like one color, and then they did the side of the trim. They did the same color as the wall. Have you seen that done? Is that the way you do it? And
Usually with the trim, if it's the baseboards or the door frames, that's usually a different color.
yeah,
Um, so usually like a white or a light cream. But sometimes customers prefer having their baseboards the same color as the wall, which can happen. But the door frames, the majority of the time, is a white color or a light cream color.
yeah. Well, this is where the wall was. Let's say that the wall was, you know, beige and the trim was white.
Mm-hmm.
They painted the face, you know, the part that you, if you stood at looking out the door, they painted that part all white. But then the side of the trim, they painted that the color of the wall. And I mean, it looked like it was easier to do it that way, but I didn't know if that was kind of,
No, normally the wall is the wall color. The door is a different color.
yeah,
And all sides of the door is that white or light cream color.
yeah. You know, and that actually, you bring up another question that and I actually Googled this when I was doing my walls, and I didn't get a clear answer, but um, when you paint the door itself, do you
Hmm.
normally paint that the wall color or a different color?
The door itself is
Yeah.
usually the same color as the trim,
Oh, as the
usually.
trim.
Now, sometimes if you want to pop a color, um, then you can have the door a different color than the trim or the door frame. Just like I did an office suite, and so they wanted a pop of color, so they had the walls a lighter blue, And then they had the doors, a different blue, and the door frame white, so that the darker blue on the doors would give the room a pop. And so you can do that also.
Yeah, what I did here is I actually put the wall color, the wall and the doors are the same color with a different color trim. Because I don't know, when I did it the other way, I felt like it was a lot of the trim color and it made the doors kind of stand out too much. I don't know. I didn't.
Well, yes, they will, the color will stand out, but, usually, if your lights are off and, you walk around your house in the dark, uh, that light color cream or white of the door will give you some light. So, you won't be walking into it, because it's not the same color as the wall. You may think, oh, that's a wall, but in essence, it's a door. So that's why, we do that also.
Yeah. Is there a difference when, commercial versus residential? Is there a difference in the way you do that kind of a job?
No, both jobs are done the same. It depends on if it's industrial, then you use different products. But if it's like an office building, or if it's like a hospital, it's the same technique. Usually hospitals have different colors for their door frames and their doors. Sometimes their doors are not painted, but it's the same. Whether it's interior or exterior, it's the same type of work that we do.
So you wouldn't like spray, for example, if it was, do you like spray in some and use rollers in others, or you pretty much are always using the roller?
If I'm doing an interior and there's absolutely nothing in the room, it's brand new, then I will cover up all the windows with plastic and then I can spray. But if there's furniture and other items in the room, it's definitely roll and brush.
Yeah. Now so my next project, because right now it's like 30 degrees here, but pretty soon it'll be warm and I'm going to paint the outside.
Okay.
So let's talk about how an exterior, do you do, like I have cedar shakes. I don't know. You're in Florida. You probably don't have that, right?
No, we don't have cedar shanks, but that's like that's wood, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what we would do, first of all, just like in Florida, we pressure clean. Move all the dirt and the grime. We will pressure clean with a 3.5 to a 4.5 psi pressure cleaner.
Okay.
Usually the ones like at Home Depot, which is like 2.0 or 3.0, professionals really do not use those. We get our pressure cleaners from the paint store, where they're heavier and they're more effective. It doesn't take forever to clean the walls. With those ones that they have at the big box stores, it takes a while. Plus, sometimes it doesn't remove the dirt.
From what I've seen, sometimes people get too close because they're trying to get the thing and then all the grain comes up and it really ruins the wood. But now, do I need to prepare that wood? Like there are seams in between each one. Should I caulk that, or is the paint going to fill that in? I mean, what do you do to prepare an exterior wall?
Okay, it depends on it depends on how you want the wood to look. Do you want the lines filled in? If you do, then you need to caulk it before you paint it. If you don't, then you can just paint it, and it depends on the effect that you want to have. Also, too, you're going to have to prime that wood with a wood primer, or sometimes an all-purpose primer. The best primer that I like is from Glidden, and it's called oh gosh, I can't think of the name right now. It was there, but anyway, that's one of the best primers that they have. It'll come to me later, but anyway.
Well, that's right. You can send it to me and I'll put a link in the I'll put it
Yes.
into the show notes.
And you can use it for to prime anything. And so it's very good, but that wood has to be primed.
Okay. And then how about, I mean, I know
Especially-
there's exterior paint, but is there any secrets as far as choosing the paint and stuff when you're doing the outside?
Um, when choosing exterior paint, I would say that, uh, don't do the mid-grade. Go to um, maybe not the best, but the second best. Um, because you want that paint to last for a very long time. So if you primer, then you use the second best paint. I've had paint, well, on my house, 10, 15 years.
Wow.
Hmm.
So,
And 10, 15 years. And last year, I pressure cleaned my house. Not any of the paint came off.
wow. Yeah, that's
And it's
impressive. I
like
thought I
I
had
just
been doing
painted
it.
it.
What's that? Sorry.
I said, it looks like I just painted it.
Wow. I should, well, you wouldn't want to. I was going to say I should pay for you to come up and help me with my, but it's cold here. You wouldn't like it.
No, and plus, you don't paint in the cold.
Right.
Yeah, because it won't dry.
Yeah.
It won't dry.
But
So
now
just
what do you
wait till
use
you
for
have some
outside? Is that
sun.
all with a brush, or how do you do it outside?
Um, we can spray outside, especially the wood. Yes,
So I would
and
just
the
have to
walls.
tape everything up.
Just have to tape everything up, tape all the windows up, pull back the shrubbery that's close to the house so the paint doesn't get on it. But yeah, you can spray the outside.
So in general, is spraying better than using a brush or a roller, or it's just easier?
I like using, if you're going to spray, you can spray at least, you can spray the primer and then spray the first coat of paint. But the second coat of paint should be rolled
Okay. Okay.
because that paint will really go into the surface.
All right.
And that's how it lasts longer when that paint goes into the surface. Mm-hmm.
So Shirley, you just kind of reminded me too that I have a challenge here because the house has been painted numerous times, but I replaced a bunch of doors and windows and moved things around. So I have some bare shingles that are next to ones that have been painted, several times. How can I help to make that blend a little bit better?
Oh, from pressure cleaning,
Okay.
it will take off some of the old paint, especially if the paint is peeling or anything.
Mm-hmm.
And then what the pressure cleaner doesn't take off, then we scrape it off to remove all the excess loose paint, and then we primed. So after we prime, then everything should blend in together with the first coat of paint.
Okay. So you're, oh gosh, can you hear my dishwasher going? The dishwasher just made all this noise. I was like, oh, that wasn't too smart to put that on. So so am I removing all the paint or just getting all the loose stuff off for
All
the
the
stuff,
loose stuff
all the
off.
loose stuff?
All the
Okay.
loose stuff. Yes. You
Okay.
don't
And
have
then
to
prime
remove
everything.
all the paint, just the loose.
Okay.
Because you want to make sure that the new primer and the new paint is adhering to the surface.
Okay. So Shirley, do you keep up on like the trends and stuff? What kind of colors people are choosing? And, I mean, I imagine actually it's different in different parts of the country, right?
No, well, Benjamin Moore comes out with their spring colors, and PBG comes out with their spring colors, and Sherwin Williams comes out with their spring colors. I do not, I do not tend to go, for me, I usually do not tend to go with the flow of the colors that are out. I like colors, okay? So I go with colors that make me feel good. And like my house right now is blue on the outside.
Nice.
There's no one in my area with blue house with a blue painted house. But when I come home, it just feels so relaxing. It reminds me of the ocean and a beautiful sky. So my house is blue. And a lot of the colors right now are white or gray. But no, I love my blue. So, I don't worry about the trend. You know, um, I go with what makes me feel good. And that's what I tell my customers,
Yeah.
go with what you like because you got to live in it. You got to see it every day, don't try to follow the trends
Well, because you'd be painting every year, right?
every year. Yes, because they change colors every season. Hmm.
Yeah. No, that's good
And
advice.
then, yes, and then inside, you can go with one base color and then you can have accent walls.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Now, accent walls, I've seen all manner of. Are there any sort of guidelines for accent walls? Because I see people making them like totally different, and then some people make them just kind of like a shade lighter or darker than the rest of the house.
It depends on what you like. Some people, I've seen like dark, dark colors, like a, 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 a ruby red or um, a dark orange or something like that. And then, like I say, it depends on what you want to accent your room with, so you can have one wall like that. I have about I have one room that I have an accent color in my room. Um, and it's a chocolate brown color. So, and the walls are light though. They're like a medium light color, but then I have a chocolate brown color. And the reason why I picked that chocolate brown color is because I found some draperies, some curtains that are beautiful. They're like a white color with brown in. Well, I like that color. So that's why I accented one of my walls with that color.
Are there tricks like that you can use the color? For example, I'm wondering if you have one darker accent wall, does that change your perception of the room at all?
No, not at all. It what it does too is put the focus. So, let's say you want to put your bed on that wall.
Mhm.
It will, when you walk into the room, it'll put the focus on that bed because the walls are different than any the wall color is different than any of the other colors in the
Mhm.
room.
So what you put against the accent wall is going to stand out.
Yes, it's going to
Probably why they
stand
call it
out.
an accent wall. Never thought of it until now.
Yes. Hmm.
So that's interesting. Yeah. And also I've noticed it's funny because now that I've got my house mostly painted and I'll put up a piece of art that it pulls the colors out of the art that match the wall. So I'm there, it's more
Yes.
obvious. And I
Hmm.
think it would probably be that there's a possibility of kind of clashing with your own artwork or with your own wall hangings, right? If you don't think about it.
Yes, if you pick a color that really does not blend in, yes, you will lose your art. Hmm.
And that's
You
the
will lose it.
yeah, and that's why it makes so much sense what you said before to go with colors you like. Because if I pick some trendy color out of a catalog, the things that I've collected are things that I like the colors of, right? So when I put them
Right,
on the wall, they're not even probably going to match.
right. Not going to match. And then, it'll take away from, the the painting or the object or whatever it is. Because the color is taking over. And that's what happens sometimes. The color takes over. Yes.
Yeah,
Hmm.
interesting. There's a science to this, isn't there?
Yes, there is a science. There is a science. I did a house. I should, I did a house about in December, and I would not tell anyone I did that house because of the colors that the owner picked. They were horrible. They were horrible. And you cannot, you can only suggest, you cannot sway someone into changing their colors, because what they're saying is, oh no, you made me pick this color. So and that becomes the issue.
Yeah.
So but I tried to give her suggestions of different colors in the color range that she wanted, but she didn't go for that. And the house looks like, when you go to the Caribbean islands, you know how their colors are? Hers look worse than theirs. So, so yeah, so it's important to pick a color, but that's what she liked. So,
As long as she likes it, it's okay. It is hard to imagine though how the whole room's going to look, right? From a little tiny chip
and but I always put sample of colors up
on the actual wall.
on the actual wall.
Oh, good idea. Then you can get a much
Yes,
better idea.
always put sample of colors up on the actual wall so you can see what it looks like. And she said, yes, that's what I wanted. And then she, instead of putting a satin paint, she wanted enamel paint because it had some like a little shine to it. And you don't do that on exterior walls. And so with the color and the enamel,
Not your
no,
taste.
no, not my taste at all. No. And her neighbors too. Her
But she
neighbors
loves
too.
it,
Yes, she loves it. Mhm.
right? You said, just don't tell your neighbors who did this work.
That's right. No. Mm-mm.
Shirley, are there guidelines as far as like that the trim should be lighter? Because I see that the trim is normally lighter than the walls and stuff. Is that sort of is there like some logic, some guidelines
Standard.
for that? Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's usually standard.
Yeah.
Yes. And you can see that anywhere, when you buy a new house or go to an office building or, a hospital, always the trim is going to be a lighter color than the walls,
Inside and out, right?
inside and out.
All right.
But now, for exterior though, they're going with bold colors for the doors.
Yeah. It's supposed to be good feng shui to attract in good energy.
Yes.
So Shirley, thank you for the DIY tips. But now, how do you know when you're in over your head and you really need to hire a professional? Are there like some little things like if this happens, then you really should
No, when you say, "Oh, this is not coming out right," I can't do this, because not everyone looks and say, "Oh, I can paint, I can do this." And when you look at it and the walls are uneven, there's streaks, there are holidays, then okay, no, I need to hire someone to do this because it does not look good.
Yeah. So that's just the experience level, right?
Yeah, it's experience level, and yeah, and you can look at it and tell, if it looks pleasing to the eye, and if it doesn't, then either you correct it or you hire someone else to correct it.
Does it cost more when the person started it themselves?
It depends on how bad it is. It depends on how bad it is, because sometimes, especially if the walls have not been treated, sometimes they paint over dirt, or if the walls have not been plastered, and you got holes and cracks and all that stuff in it. So yes, then it becomes expensive.
Yeah. Yeah. So now the next question, this to me is the $1,000,000 question. When you have to hire a painter, when you've decided that, for whatever reason, you
Mhm.
can't, or you don't want to, or it's not coming out good, or, you just don't think it's good to do it yourself. How do you know? What questions can you ask to know that you're hiring somebody who is going to do a good job?
Ask for a reference.
Yeah.
Ask for a reference. Ask them how long they've been in business. Make sure they give you a proposal.
Mhm.
Make sure they outline in the proposal exactly what they're going to do. Um, don't take hire a contractor and they say, oh, I can do this job for this amount of money, and it's not in writing. Don't don't ever hire anyone that will not give you a proposal in writing.
Yeah. Do you think it's legitimate that someone could kind of come in, like if you were going to give me a price, would you be able to sort of just walk into the house and say, okay, we can do it for X because you've done it so often? Or do you think you need to, the person, should we be looking for someone who's measuring and, kind
You
of,
should look for someone that measures. In the commercial realm, um, I'm an estimator, so I estimate my own projects. Um, and I went to school to learn how to do that. But we have painting contractors who's just started out in business. They say, "Oh, I can do this for this amount of money," and you're saying, "How in the heck can they do that for this amount of money?" And because you estimate it out, you know what it takes by the square feet, by the specifications. So usually, it's not good for someone to say, okay, I could come and do this for $500. And then when they get in it and they say, no, I need more money,
or they're going to use crappy paint and crappy
they're going to
materials.
use crappy paint. Yes,
Yeah.
most definitely. They'll use the cheapest paint that they can find. And that happens a lot.
Is
Not
it normal
only
to,
the cheapest paint, but the cheapest rollers and brushes too.
yeah. And then you're not going to get the nice job.
You're not going to get the nice job. And then they won't come back and touch up or do repairs if they have to.
Yeah. So do you normally say on the contract what brand or what kind of paint you're using so that the person who's hiring you knows that it's going to be a good quality product?
um, I usually leave that up to the customer. I can suggest a manufacturer,
Mhm.
but I leave it up to the customer to decide. So whichever brand that they pick, then I'm gonna use the top of the line.
Okay. And then does sort of color consulting come along with that? Yeah, like if I hire a painter, are they just going to come and say, what do you want? Are they going to give me some advice? Is that
Well, I usually come with a color deck that has a bunch of colors. And so you say, oh, I want something green, or I want something yellow, or, cream, or whatever. So we go to the color deck and we pull out those colors. And then you look at different colors and says, okay, I think I like this color, but I like this color. So I get samples, and then I put a sample of each color on the wall. So you can pick the color that you want. Now, once you pick the color, it's your color. And you have to sign off on that color. Because sometimes, we have customers that think that they can change the color over and over and over, and it doesn't work like that. Because it costs us money in material and labor,
Of course, yeah.
and we have to charge you for that.
That seems fair, Shirley. I don't see why people would think that you could just keep
Oh,
changing
you'll
it
be
every 5 minutes.
surprised. You'll be surprised. We're no, I don't like that color, and you should paint it over for me. No, no, no. I already painted the color that you said you wanted, and so if you want additional color, then you're going to have to pay for it. So
Yeah. But I can sympathize with them. I could certainly agree with you, but I can sympathize with them because it is very hard to look at, to choose a color for the whole room. I find it challenging myself.
yeah, that's why I put paint uh, samples on the wall
Yeah. So
so you can
you're
look.
painting, so you're buying like a tiny can and you're just actually rolling it
Hmm.
on. Yeah, that's got to make a
Yes.
huge difference. Yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm just walking around with this little tiny 1 inch by 2 inch piece of stuff.
Yes. No, I put the paint sample on the wall, so you can see what it looks like. Because sometimes what's on that card is not the same on your wall, depending what the lighting is. So
Yeah.
yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a good way to do it. Good way to do it. Now I had another question for you, and I'm going to try to. Oh, how about? Do you do like texture stuff? Do you see people using texture at all?
Um, in Florida, we use like a texture on the exterior. Some people use a little texture on the interior, because some of the homes, especially the homes that were built like in the 40s and the 50s, they have like texture on the inside. My house has a little a light texture on the inside of the walls. Um, but mostly now what they're using is what they call a knockdown. It's a spray. So it's really not a plaster texture, but it's like a texture that is man-made, if for a better word. But
Yeah.
that's what they use, the knockdowns.
Okay. So now you talked before about buying good painter's tape. My
Mm-hmm.
experience with the blue tape has been that I hate it because it takes off the paint that you covered up, and you still get little pieces of the paint coming through on the other side. And I feel sometimes like it's still, if I put it like say I'm doing a ceiling and I put the paint on put the tape on the ceiling, that there's still going to be like enough coming through, on the thing. So anyway, how do you is there a right way to use tape? That's my question.
Okay, blue painted tape should not peel, um, especially if it was prepped right. Okay, and so that could be an issue. The walls could have been dirty. Um, you didn't prime, and it's important to prime the walls and the ceilings before you put paint on. Um, and so if you prime, clean your surface before you prime, and then put your coat of paint on, it should not peel.
So
It should not peel. Plus, you have to let it time to dry.
right. But so
Yes.
these things that like Home Depot sells that says paint and primer, that's just fake. It's not
No,
real.
it's not fake. It's okay if you did not patch any of the walls. Because if you patch the walls, then you need to, what we use is a keel, a water-based kills.
Yeah.
Because if you use that paint with the paint and primer in one, it's not going to work on any patches. So that's why you have to prime it.
Yeah. So because I had basically sheetrock, so they were patches. Basically, the whole thing was patches. So you can,
That's right.
yeah, you can see.
Mm-hmm. And yes, and the primer and paint in one is not going to work on that. It's great if you have previously painted walls that nothing has to be done to them. They're great for that. But once the walls have been patched, you got to prime them.
Should have called you earlier, Shirley.
And usually a primer by Kills, Kilz. I'm giving all these people my plugs.
Tell
All
them you
these
want some money for endorsements.
and that's a good primer, a water-based primer.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I thought that was just for like mold and mildew and stuff. It kills.
No, no, it's an excellent primer. Excellent primer.
Okay, good. So Shirley, thank you so much. I mean, I don't know. I'm sure that you've helped other people out there, but you've for sure helped me, and I'm very excited. And I really appreciate you sharing all this wisdom. Is there something
Thank
that you
you.
want to share that I failed to ask about that you think people should
Let
know?
me see. We talked about pressure cleaning. Um, We talked about cleaning the walls. Oh, another thing is to tint your primer to the color
Oh,
of the paint.
okay. That's a good tip. And that makes it
And that
easier,
way,
right? You're not trying to cover up the primer.
right. And that way the color will pop um, out. The color will pop with one coat of paint, but it also will pop even more with the second coat of paint. So always tint it. Now the tint will not be the exact color of the paint because it's a primer, but it'll be like 25–50% of the paint color.
Okay.
And then it will make rolling the paint a whole lot easier because you're
Okay.
not trying to cover up the primer, the white primer.
Right, right. But do you think do you always need to put on a one coat of primer plus 2 coats of paint?
No, you can, if you tint the primer, sometimes depending on what the color was underneath, one coat of primer and one coat of paint.
Yeah. But like on this situation where I had basically new walls, should that always be 2 coats?
Always should be 2 coats, yes. So it can last longer.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I got to start back from scratch.
And then too, don't put flat on your walls, flat paint. Because if anything gets on it and you try to wipe it off, you're going to take off the paint. So
So that's
always use like a satin or a semi-gloss.
okay. Because I used to always use eggshells. That's not really gonna, no.
Eggshell is the same as satin.
Oh, it is. Okay, good.
Yes. The
But
reason why I didn't say eggshell, because some people think eggshell is a color.
oh, it
but
probably is.
but it's not, it's a finish. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Um, all right, good. Well, I want to just thank you so much, Shirley. This was really lovely.
There's one other thing is to use water-based paint.
Mhm.
They're easier to clean and they're easier to put on and they last for a long, long time.
Even for
Um,
outside?
even for, of course, for outside, yes. And what else I had to say? Make sure you cover your floors and your furniture when you're painting. Because, we're even professionals. Sometimes we have a little drip. So you want to make sure that you don't mess up your floors with the paint. But if you use water-based, then you can easily get it up. But I prefer to cover my floors with a drop cloth.
Mhm. Beautiful. Shirley, you are a wealth of knowledge. I can tell that you've been doing it for a long time. You've had a lot of experiences and experience.
Yes, yes, yes. That have seen some things, have done some things wrong, so you learn from your mistakes. Yes.
Do you have like a memorable story that you want to close with, like something crazy that either happened because the client was crazy or because you did something that you now know better, or something that springs to
That
mind?
last client with those colors. And yeah, those colors, because they did not blend well together. And the house was about 60 years old, 40, 50 years old. And the substrate, wasn't new. So the colors that was chosen, even though we patch and try to make everything blend together, because she had all different kind of substrates and all different kind of woods. And so we did the best that we could, but with the colors that she picked, because how bad, the substrate was, it just, when you walk up, you just see it, because she picked an enamel color. So, yeah.
So
So
that's
no enamel.
highlighting all those.
Mm-hmm. No enamel on the outside, especially on your walls.
So what is there a better finish when you have imperfect walls inside and out?
Satin or eggshell.
Is that the most forgiving, basically?
Yes, that's the most forgiving.
Cool.
Semi-gloss will show everything. But you still need it in your kitchens and your bathrooms. And you definitely, flats will hide it, but it will not last long. Because flat paint loves dirt. Dirt just gravitates to that paint. So definitely not flat paint, but yeah. Only for the ceiling.
All right, good. So thank you, Shirley, so much for being here
You're
and
welcome.
sharing this. I know this, you're doing this as a labor of love. I know it was your choice to be on the podcast, but I really appreciate it because I know you've helped a lot of people.
No problem. No problem. Thank you for having me.
So I'm going to put the links to your website and stuff, but do you want to just tell people how they can get in touch with you if they're in Florida and they know they need your services?
Okay, so the company name is Everett Painting Company, Inc. My telephone number is 786-985-4875. Right now, my website is being redone. So you can email me at everettpainting@att.net or everettpainting@gmail.com.
Perfect. Thanks very much, Shirley. And thank you, listener, for listening. I know you got a lot out of Shirley's wisdom. So please share with a friend. And we're on a goal to get to 50 countries. And right now we just made it to 21. We just added Australia. So that's exciting.
That's great. Yeah. Excellent.
Yep. So find a friend in another country and forward them the podcast so we can get up to 50 countries.
Oh, great.
And next week, hopefully, if she returns my phone call, we'll have Margaret England talking about electrician, about how to do, maybe she won't tell us how to do any of your own electrical work, but she'll at least tell us how to know that we're hiring a good electrician and that the person's going to do what we want them to do and do a good job.
Exactly.
So you don't want to miss that.